Pop in your top 3 stressors. It can even be one right now in your healing journey.
Mine's Zoom.
Okay, so we've got communication and relationships, environment, family, children and extended family, setbacks in health and progress. Yeah. Doing EBBM well, overworking, relationships and extended family, myself, negative thought loops, safety, health issues, the way it disables me, children, hubby, environment. Finding the balance between what I want and still meeting others' needs, family, health issues, work, relationships. Awesome. So if you're still popping yours in there, my next question, can you pull up this slide, Chris, the chat box one? Um, is what is within your control specifically around these top stresses. So as we're going through today, is so that you can get a transformation or some sort of a shift on the work in the workshop tonight. I want you to kind of focus on that. So what's inside and outside of your control? And maybe even you might find your original comment and do a little reply underneath it. It might be like, oh, I feel like nothing's inside of my control, or maybe I feel like everything is, or there might be portions or some things. Okay. So Fiona, family health issues are outside of my control. Work, be prepared and take moments to care for myself, relationships partly in my control. Yeah, cool. Also, anything that you feel like is outside of your control, is there anything that is inside of your control? So if that's a real stressor for you, is there anything inside of your control that you can actually tap into that can reduce how you're responding to stress and how you're responding to that thing? So Mel, my environment is in my control, my hubby not, some of the kid stuff is. Yeah. And also, yeah, like Mel, your hubby's not within your control in terms of you can't control his actions probably. But is there anything that is inside of your control that is currently stressing you? Uh, our expectations of others, sometimes inside of my control, sometimes outside of control. Right, inside viewpoint, what I'm putting into my body, movement is inside of my control, outside of your control is time for healing. Mm-hmm. Fern, I'm glad we're doing this topic tonight because I know that I shouldn't let things outside of my control bother me, but they do. Yes, that it is normal. um, yeah, how I react to those situations, especially my sister's attitude and comments. Carrie, is that within or outside of your control? And if it's outside, what is within your control? Misha, I would say mine both inside and outside of my control, but probably more inside my control than anything. My mind thoughts are in my control, even though they feel they are not. Yeah, cool, Dove. We're really going to dig into that tonight. Annalisa, family future, when we'll go back to work, what that will look like, going okay and then going backwards. Then are things, elements of each that are in and out of my control. My role in each is in control, but there are elements each that I can't control. Yeah. Sharon, mindsets are in my control. People's response actions aren't out of my control. Being sick is out of control. Ooh, being sick is out of your control. I would like you to think about that one. Is there anything in that stressor that is within your control? Okay, awesome. You guys have got it. Cool. So in in the Take Back Your Power lesson, we talk about you have four powers that are always within your control, regardless of what's happening around you or to you or for you. And they are your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. And today or tonight, I really wanted to focus on more so the thoughts side of things, and give you some new insights. They might be new for some people, specifically around neuroscience and the thoughts that pop into our heads that affect our stress response and can make things a lot worse than they need to be. At the end, I'm going to take you through a really cool process. I don't know if anyone's heard of rapid resolution therapy, but this is a process that's kind of a bit interesting. It doesn't feel like meditation, but it has some powerful shifts in being able to change some things in your unconscious state. And specifically, the process is around helping you to shift anxiety and thought patterns that are causing your stress response to stay more alert than what they need to be. Okay. Ooh. All right. So, two facets of the mind. So, the mind is in our brain, we have a part of the brain that is primitive. And then we also have a part of the brain that is evolved. So, the primitive mind, this is crazy. I actually only learnt this recently. The primitive mind is about 400 million years old, and we share this part of the brain with reptiles. And it has not evolved for over 400 million years. So basically, we've got this part of our brain that is the reptilian part of the brain, and it's responsible for basic functioning. So things like breathing, blinking, heart beating, flinching, digestion. And it's also the part of the brain that is associated with the sympathetic nervous system. So when something feels stressful, if you feel like there's danger, whether it's outside or inside of you, this part of the brain will activate. The evolved part of the brain or the mind is the prefrontal cortex. So this includes logic and reason, and it's your ability to be able to remember the past and perceive the future. And it has the ability to attach meaning to experiences and things. And it's very much part of self-control and rational thinking and being able to return yourself back to calm. It's also the part of the brain that wants the best for you. It wants you to grow and progress and be happy and healthy. And when it is activated, it helps you to stay in the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's that rest and digest and sleep and sex. And it can really help with creativity, problem solving. Now, for those of you who have done parts work with us, and we did a group workshop, I think, maybe last cycle, we definitely did. And that's often like when you feel like there's two different parts of you warring against each other. Pop a why if you're like, yes, I know what you're talking about. So that might be like a classic example would be, I just saw Mel put it, why. I really want to start eating breakfast in the morning. But then the other part is like, I'm going to continue sabotaging. It hasn't for the last 6 days. So the evolved mind is winning. But this is often why we feel like we're being pulled in two different directions, because there's a part of our brain that is 400 million years old. It is the reptile, and it hasn't evolved in the way that the evolved mind has. So this is the hardware. If you think about a computer, our hardware is that we have both parts of these in our mind and in our brain. So we're not trying to like get rid of the primitive mind or kill it off, but there are things that can happen over time that can affect the software of the brain. Oh yeah, Kimberly just listened to, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If anyone listened to Chris's podcast where he coached Lucy, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. How do I slide that slide? Okay, so I mentioned a lot of these, but just to recap, and I have put a lot of words on these slides because I wanted you guys to be able to have the slides when we upload it with the recording in case you wanted to look back without listening to the whole recording again. And again, this can be really powerful when you really get this, and then you can actually start controlling your stress response. So the primitive mind is all about survival. It's basically saying, I'm going to get dead. The tiger's coming. The bear is coming. Quick, run, hide, freeze, fight, flee. And it's always trying to keep you safe and trying to protect you. And what it does, like the primitive mind is there in our brain, but it's really taking all the experiences from the past and it's projecting into the future. It's projecting all the worst case scenarios based on your past experiences to try and keep you safe. Now, this is a major block. The primitive mind can be a major block when you're trying to heal yourself, when you're trying to get into the space where you're rewiring, reprogramming your whole self. The primitive mind doesn't like that because it likes things to be the same and it likes comfort. And so, anytime you're trying to change something, whether that's a thought pattern, a habit, when you get into, if like for the new people who haven't quite got to the deepest root cause belief stuff yet, when you're trying to change your whole belief system, your primitive mind is going to go a little bit nuts and it might start talking to you. And it could say things like, this isn't going to work for us. This isn't the right time. Maybe we should start in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, nah, we'll do that a little bit later. Or it's too hard. It's too confusing. Just shut down. Let's just go watch Netflix instead. Or it's saying, don't bother. Maybe we're not ready for this. Or it's too busy for this. Or you might also hear the voice of, maybe I'm too broken. I'm just going to be the flop. So I may as well give up now. Pop in the chat box if you completely know what I'm talking about with the primitive mind and these voices. OMG, yes. Yeah, I wanted to book in for TRTP and oh, wow. Yeah, okay. So, friends, yep, I'm booked in for a trauma therapy and all the thirds happen, which is so common. Yep. Yes, yep, yes. Okay, yep. Everyone knows what we're talking about. And here's the thing, it's completely normal. Because we all have that part of the brain. So I want to show you some ways that we can start dialing it down. Also, too, actually, I had that. So chaotic comfort. So it prefers to stay in chaos and in pain and not change and not heal because it feels comfortable there. So you could be in a state where you've got all these symptoms happening, anxiety, body pain, gut issues, all the things. Um, and even though there is so much pain, that primitive part of your brain prefers you to stay where you are because it's like, this is safe. It feels safe because it's certain. However, so the evolved part of your brain knows that it's like, no, this is no way to live. There is a better way. Now, I was talking about the brain. So, the evolved mind and the primitive mind is the hardware, if we think about it as a computer. Things that can cause the primitive mind to become more intense or explosive or manifest more than what it needs to always comes back to past events that you've experienced, beliefs that you've created about yourself, and maybe even things that you value that you might not even be aware of. And so this is a picture of a sieve. Actually, I don't even know what they're sieving out. But basically, it's like your whole system gets clogged when you've had past distressing events happen in your life. That when they are unprocessed, they basically get stuck in your unconscious mind, which is your body. And that's why a lot of things start manifesting physically and also mentally, emotionally. And the deeper unconscious core beliefs is so connected to trauma. Because, like a good example is a soldier could go off to war and so could his mate. They both come home. One soldier has PTSD, the other doesn't. And they've experienced exactly the same things. The things that actually hold on to unprocessed trauma in the system is because there's deeper unconscious, unkind belief stuck in your system that is amplifying the feelings of fear, unsafety, guilt, shame. And so, for those who are new, you will get into the belief stuff in the past state. Oh, Fern, I have had my website not in live mode. Yeah, my website. Fern is an amazing, she's going to be an amazing practitioner. I have hard drives full of content, videos I've filmed of myself, haven't posted any of it as started because of this primitive part freaking me out. Oh, can't wait till you break through. It's going to be awesome. Okay. When we get triggered, we think of a disturbing event. So I'll pre-frame this. So you're living your life. If I remember back to some of those things that were stressing you, people have got like relationship stuff going on, communication, family, health issues that might have flared up, or can I heal this? All these things that are happening in the present will cause a trigger response inside of your body, and it's often connected back to a past event, and a deeper unconscious core belief that occurred in the past, or you're worrying about the future, a potential problem in the future. So this is the primitive mind activating. And the primitive mind starts reading the data from your thoughts that are popping up into your mind, and maybe it might even be somatically, you're feeling things in your body. And the primitive mind is experiencing this not as something that's happened in the past or the future, but as if it's happening now. So this is where people get really dysregulated and find it really hard to respond appropriately to current stresses and continue to ruminate, whether it's consciously or inside the body, on past things or future things, because the primitive mind only exists in the present. Like, it has no capacity to think about the past or the future. It is literally like, I need to stay safe right now. I think I'm going to get dead. And so these past and future things continue to ramp it up. Oh, Fern, I had a lisp as a child, was teased for it. So the idea of putting my voice out there feels really, so scary. So that's like such a good example of something in the past is still affecting a woman today in the future. Okay, so we want to clear the data. So we're not changing the hardware. The brain is still the brain, but we can clear the software, and we can unclog the sieve that is carrying around stuff that's unprocessed. So when something does not exist, okay, so here are some action points really that you can start thinking about. So think about the thing that you put down at the start that's currently causing you stress. When something does not exist, no action needs to be taken to fix it, and nothing needs to be done. Now you might be like, yeah, but I do actually have a real stress. And so this is where you're actually starting to pull apart, is it a real present stress? Or is it actually just something from the past or something imagined in the future? Because if you're actually safe right now, then nothing needs to be done, and the primitive mind can just start switching off. It can calm down. So when nothing needs to be done, for example, when something is not really happening in the present, then the data glitch is trying to cause us to do something that cannot be done. So that primitive mind is like, oh, the tiger's coming, quick. Because your whole system feels like it's ruminating on things on the past or the present, and it's attaching that to something in the present, and then there's a data glitch. And this is where this inner turmoil starts showing up. So it shows up emotionally, physically, energy drain, and distraction. Okay, before we get practical, anyone have any questions around that? So I just wanted to do like a little bit of a teaching at the start there. Specifically from more of like a neuroscience, this is not woo-woo, this is like literally how we're hardwired. Does anyone have any questions or any insights you want to share? Or if you're like, nope, all good, you can just put a N. Cool. Alrighty, awesome. Before I share some things, because I know that there's some people who have been really working on this sort of stuff. Do you have, and you're welcome to come off mute if you want, or pop it in the chat box, anything that you currently do, or maybe even something that you've done in the past to calm down the primitive mind, so that when you're in that like reptilian, like, oh, the tiger's coming, and you can clearly see that it's like, this isn't an actual real danger right now. Is there anything that you currently do that you pull out of your toolkit? Mel, rage clean my house. Oh, you should come and do that to my house. That'd be good. um, it's not a true present stress, like I'm not in danger, but it feels like a stress because in my past, my childhood, when I was sick with my mum, when I was sick, my mum would get so angry. So now that I'm sick, I feel so triggered, like back to how I felt as a child. My body is stuck in the past. Yeah, cool. So is there anything you've started to do around that, Fern, when you can clearly see, this is coming from the past, primitive mind. I know that you're kind of stuck there because you're getting triggered now in the present and you're experiencing that as if you're experiencing it now. And it's also okay if it's like, I'm kind of like floundering. Catherine, breathing. Yeah, everyone's breathing, sway, listen to music. Yeah, okay, awesome. I love all those things that people have suggested. They're all very somatic things. So, the fastest way you can get into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your evolved mind, is then activated, is breathing out longer than you breathe in. So, that's a really, really quick way that you can switch and start self regulating and start kind of calming down that part of the brain and swaying as well. Yep. Listen to music. Oh, Carly, so you can hug a tree and imagine the roots underground of my feet and breathe. I love that. Yep. So getting out into nature. Rach, I use my anchor and say a bit of a mantra. I'm safe, I'm loved, I am enough. I love it all. Meditate, insight timer, cool. Misha used to get angry, now repeat my affirmations, which is I tell myself it's safe to be me. Kimberly, listen to Chris and Philly's podcast. Oh, thank you. Fern, yeah, I shift my state with body movements and visualize myself in my safe place. Awesome. How effective, like for those who put in or Doritos and Netflix and a good cry, also works. How effective has that been for you? Meditation is so wonderful. Yeah. Two questions. How effective has that been for you? And if you still feel stuck with this, where is that stuckness? Like if you could articulate that. Because I know a lot of people say, oh, yeah, these tools work in the moment, but then I feel like I just have to like continue listening to the podcast or the meditation or whatever it is. The moment that I stop listening to it, I just flip back. Oh yeah, time is a block. Is that what you mean, Catherine, by time? Fern, it works and helps to shift my state in the moment, but I'm so tired of having to do it multiple times a day. Okay, yeah. Kim, I also access my safety anchor as needed. The reason I listen to the podcast is because it gives my mind a shift, and even if I cannot grasp exactly what it is I need to do in the moment, I can train my thoughts to move forward and shift rather than the same old, yeah, pattern and replay. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So cool. Okay, awesome. Some of the things takes a while if it's a doozy. Okay, yep, I feel it in my chest. Mish, stuckness is that sometimes my reaction gets out ahead of me and I forget to say my affirmation straight away, but now I forgive myself and move forward than blame myself rather than blame myself and go into shame. I love that. And I shared the primitive mind and that it's like 400 million years old and it hasn't evolved because that can help those who may still feel like, oh, I've reacted and now I feel guilt and shame. Now it can just be like, it's just the little reptile in part of the brain. Like it's actually not you. Doesn't mean anything about you. It's just like, it's how we're evolved. And then you can go back and do like the breathing and the affirmations and the reframing and that helps you to shift into regulation a lot quicker. Rach, I just had a bit of a health scare. Yeah. And I had to have a CT angiogram and needed my heart rate to be slowed down, but I was quite nervous and scared. I used this and my heart rate was able to slow down. That is so cool. I love that. Um, yeah, Fern, I don't want to just suppress the emotion with these tools. Like I want to resolve and clear it. Yeah. So, um, around that too. So for those who oh, in the when you get into past state, you'll be getting to a deeper unconscious core belief because that's where everything is stemming from. And so the things that we're sharing today are really good ways to help self-regulate if you've kind of done the reprogramming work and you have a little bit of an outburst or a little bit of a trigger because again it will happen. So the goal isn't I always feel calm and I'm a monk every day. It's more the expectation that, yeah, it'll probably pop up, but I've got the tools now to be able to self regulate. If you haven't yet got to your deepest root cause belief and reprogram that, these tools that we're sharing today can be really helpful to help you keep moving forward, but it will end up just being a band aid until you can really reprogram deeper unconscious core beliefs and clear like really stuck and deep trauma. Yeah, Steph, I really struggle with overreaction. Yeah, yeah. I think Mish, yeah, can share some words of wisdom there. She's doing great now, but that was a very, very sticky, stuck point. Okay, I'm going to give you some reframes first of all, um, that you can add into your toolkit. So, visualization or imagination and affirmations. And you guys all said the affirmations, which is great. And the affirmations, if you've got empowering new self belief ones, are going to be really powerful. But just from like a really primitive point of view, when you get triggered, just imagine that your primitive brain is panicking about something. So you can literally imagine whether it's like a little lizard or that little part of the brain is like beep, 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 and maybe you give it like a character or an object so that you can actually talk to it because that disconnects you from it. And then, you let go of guilt and shame and all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, yeah, that's just that little dingly bit at the back of my brain. Okay. And then you can talk to it. So there's nothing that needs to be done here when a situation arises, especially if you're stuck in the past or ruminating in the future and there's literally not a current present threat. In the moment, these are some really cool questions that you can ask yourself. So, is there an actual threat to my safety? Is there something dangerous happening to me right now? And is there a way I can act that is more valuable, something that would be good to help me shift out of this? And those first two can just help you to, again, disconnect yourself from the evolved mind to the primitive mind. That if there's literally no actual threat right now, then you can start adding some extra tools. So the breathing, the affirmations, the swaying, the dancing, the music, because it's literally, because you need to, if you only stick with just talking to yourself, so that's kind of like talking to your conscious mind, that might work, but you can get a faster shift by dropping into your body. And that's where everyone added some really cool techniques that help somatically, literally help your body, which is your unconscious mind, to feel safe. Catherine, I let my busy mind lead me to eat rather than make the time I need to do things. Yeah, so that's probably like I guess a pattern for sure, and maybe a bit of a stress trigger. If that's emotional eating and it's like, oh, I'm busy, I'm stressed, I'm just going to go eat rather than carve out time to do the things. So that's where, if you go back to this first imagination, it's just like, hey, oh, that's the primitive mind talking at the moment. It loves sugar and it loves comfort and it loves the same and it wants to be safe. And so then you can have a little chat to it. It's like, hey, do you really want to eat that food? Maybe it does, you know, and then it's like you can have a negotiation. Yeah, okay, let's have a little bite of the chocolate or whatever it is that makes sense in the moment. But essentially, you're getting to the root of why am I having a stress response in the first place that is leading me to eating the food? There's nothing that needs to be done. If you're showing up with a procrastination pattern, like you're eating food instead of making time to do the things, then your primitive mind is feeling like that thing that you should or want to be doing is dangerous. And that's where you can talk to the primitive part of the brain too. It's like, hey, like, yeah, I want to go do Spark or clean the house or whatever it is. And the primitive mind, especially if it's something to do with like really changing and healing, primitive mind, just always remember, is it's going to fight back. So that's just something that like a really good tool that you can think about when that pattern shows up again and see what happens. And it's also okay if you choose to eat the food. You know, you're just getting curious around the patterns at the moment, Catherine. Okay. Um, Separate self from thoughts. I had a chat, I think it was with Joe the other day, and you were getting really good at this. Like, the thought is not me. And zooming out of your brain, and these are not my thoughts. I mean, they are my thoughts, but it's not me. It's not me. I would add something else to that. Your primitive mind thoughts and feelings are not the healed version of you. And so that's where you can become a conscious observer. Kimberly, actually, that was when you talked about the podcast. So it's like, yeah, I actually really like listening to podcasts because it helps me to move towards what I want rather than stay stuck doing the old patterns over and over again. I am not a lizard. Yeah, I mean, if that works, the healed version of you is not a lizard. You have evolved. You have evolved. You're not back at the 400 million years ago. Um, and become a conscious observer. So, zooming out, just observing the thoughts, seeing the little brain or the lizard or whatever it is, having a chat with it, and then imagining and connecting to who you want to be. Because here's the thing, write this down. The healed version of you does not entertain these thoughts. So we can't control the birds floating around our head, but we can control whether it nests in our head. So the healed version of you, like a completely healed and healthy and happy, you know, of course that's not like all the time, but generally speaking, a healed, healthy, happy person does not allow those primitive birds to nest in the head. I call my primitive mind crazy. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So that's what I mean with you can imagine that reptilian part of your brain, the primitive part of the brain as an object or a person. The crazy lady in the attic. It's who has been there for 400 million years. And she's like zombie now. And the more you can do this, the faster you will heal. Because anytime the primitive mind comes on, you're going to be secreting cortisol and adrenaline. So, like adrenals and brain chemicals that put you into a stress state. Your digestive tract switches off, so you're getting all the gut issues. Metabolism switches off, so there's now like weight issues, all the things. The more that you can take those primitive parts of your thoughts and take them out of the nest, the faster you'll heal. Yeah, cool. I've added this to my process as you suggested, Philly, and makes a big difference. Awesome. Catherine, is the primitive brain the same as your ego? Yes. There's a few different like people use different terminology for these two different parts of us. So like the primitive reptilian part, the evolved part. So the ego part I would put in the same basket as the primitive brain. Yep. It's kind of like the got to keep you safe. I don't know, ego oh yeah, got to keep you safe. Sometimes people talk about ego in terms of like got to be the best, got to win the race, which essentially the primitive brain does too. Because if you're getting left behind in the tribe, you get eaten by the tiger. Okay. Oh, I love this. I always do this quite regularly. Is again, imagination is so powerful when you get into the nervous system regulation side of things. And for those who already have and continue to do it, the more richly you can imagine, the more profound your results will be. Because your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's happening in your reality and what's happening in your unconscious mind. And so the more that you can really tap into imagining whatever you want to imagine that will help you get to your next goal and allow your body to heal, the faster it will become. So when thoughts, so I kind of like imagine these like thoughts and they're about to nest and they're like, nope, don't need you. And I'll literally like attach the thoughts onto a cloud and just watch them float away with the cloud. Or if people are more a water person, you could imagine your thoughts just floating down the stream, or maybe you're tying it to an anchor and it just sinks to the bottom of the ocean and just disintegrates into the bottom of the ocean. I don't know if anyone does that already. Okay. Oh, actually, questions in a second. Yep. So all those reframes, use of imagination, really, really can really help you to progress and to start mastering your stress response. Breathing, as we mentioned before, and also safety anchor. So anyone who has done the safety anchor, it's the very first practice in nervous system regulation. Okay, if you haven't yet, but you'll get to it. This is just a beautiful way that you can create the feeling of safety in your body, which is your unconscious mind, and then viscerally, physically, you will feel that safetiness in your body, and then that helps you to sink from your conscious mind into your body, which is where the big change will actually happen. Oh, I like that, Catherine. I love that. I'm going to turn mine into stars that burst. Yeah, whatever works for you. Okay. Any questions on any of that? No. Okay. I'm going to take you through a process now. So, I've been doing work with an amazing lady. Her name's Faith Ashenden. She's awesome if you want to follow her on socials or listen to a podcast, but she's healed basically 10 years of like Hashimoto's, terrible SIBO, allergies, all these sorts of things. And she uses neuroscience and different types of modalities to heal from chronic illness. And anyway, she introduced me to a modality called rapid resolution therapy, which I actually hadn't heard of. And I want to take you through a process that is cool and different. I'll talk about the zebra in a secchi, but basically, the rapid resolution therapy works by entertaining your conscious mind, but it helps to shift things deeper in the unconscious. And storytelling is used, and also the imagination. So when I'm taking you through this, it literally might feel like I'm just telling you a story, but it's pretty powerful. I remember the first time I listened to this recording, I was about to speak at a conference. So this is quite regularly in April, and far out, I'd usually be like really kind of like jittery and nervous, but I was just so calm. Literally all anxiety had been removed from my body. Okay, now the reason why I have a zebra here is there will be a lot of storytelling around a zebra. And the zebra is a good metaphor because a zebra, just like a lot of animals, is only ever operating in the present. So it cannot conceive of anything in the past or the future. It's literally like what's happening now is happening now. Um, and and just like if we think about anxiety, racing thoughts, stress response, you cannot have anxiety if you're in the present, because anxiety only exists in the past or the future. And this is like the primitive mind side of things too. So if you can calm, primitive mind is the present, And so if you can attach present safety into your system, then your system can feel safe and the primitive mind can calm down because there's nothing to worry about. An example of that, like with the zebra, is that the tiger's chasing it. It's freaking out. It's producing bucket loads of cortisol and adrenaline and, you know, all sorts of other chemicals. And then it runs to safety. And then the tiger disappears. And minutes later, it's completely forgotten the tiger. Like it's literally just eating grass. Humans don't do that because we've also got the evolved mind, which kind of like ruminates on stuff as well. And so we want to bring the two together so that you can start being more in the present, which then means these stress response thought patterns literally cannot exist. Okay. All right. So I would love everybody to have their eyes closed during this. So this will take about 20 minutes, FYI. It's best done sitting comfortably, thinking about your physiology too. I mean, like if you feel more comfortable lying down, that's totally fine. But when you can sit straight with your spine up and even your chin raised slightly, this helps you to access the unconscious mind in a more powerful way. Also, this is recorded, yeah? You're recording it? Okay, cool. This is recorded. So if you feel like you know, there's background noise and all that sort of stuff, I'd actually come back and listen to it again when you can be really present and really invested in being part of this. Okay, so I'm going to pull it open. Okay, so we'll start with eyes closed and just take a few deep breaths. And just take a little bit of time to make sure you arrive in this moment so that this is as effective for you as possible. And as always, we're going to use the breath to anchor into the present moment. So with me, I'm just going to ask you to use the next 1 minute to take 4 slow breaths. And when you hear the bell, I'll go ahead and give you some time to be able to do those breaths. Just breathing in deeply. And breathing out slowly, slowly, slowly. And taking another deep breath in slowly. And breathing out. And when you hear the bell, we'll be ready to move on. My intention is to shift what you would describe as anxiety so that it's no longer troubling you the way that it has been. I don't want you to just trust me here. I want you to see that it actually works. I want to tell you some stuff about how I think of anxiety, and I want you to look through this lens with me. I'll probably be describing it a little differently than the way that you might have been thinking about it. I believe if we think like this together, it will give you and I some more power to shift things in the direction that we are looking for them to go in. And as I go over this stuff, try and think about how it applies to you. You're smart, and if it's outside of you, like let's say in the classroom, you pick it up quickly. So just think of it this way. Zebra sees lion. Zebra is running from lion. The centers of the zebra are burning and bringing in information. Let's just say the data so that the sight of the hearing. and bringing in this information. Oh my gosh, the lion is coming. The mind of the zebra reads that information and it gets that message in the mind. Gosh, the lion is coming. The mind of the zebra reads that information and it gets that message in the mind because the zebra's body is starting to become more stronger. And this happens instantly. The part of your body that gets much stronger is her legs. She doesn't need a strong tail when she's being chased by a lion. So her legs get instantly stronger and it affects her entire body. This is the sympathetic nervous system activity. The heart's beating faster, but digestion is going slower. Because digestion isn't really her priority right now. She just wants to make sure that she herself isn't lunch. And this system works so well for her and it turns on instantly when it's useful. But it snaps off as soon as it's not useful. So now it's finished, she's safe. She made it and the lion is gone. And you say, oh my gosh, are you okay? Did you see the size of that lion? And she says to you, what lion? For zebra, it's as if nothing happened. It doesn't exist. Fear for zebra really serves her. It turns on as soon as it's useful and it snaps off as soon as it's not. One day, zebra saw this bird, landed near her tiny baby zebra, and the bird landed right near the baby and they had packed it, the baby. Her mind read that information in her mind, made her body get stronger, so she charged at the bird and the bird flew into the air. And you said, can you imagine the nerve of that bird? And she said, what bird? Because for zebra, it's not happening anymore. It doesn't exist. The nervous system is hardwired to cause one of two things to get stronger. Strong legs are strong. So you can either run or bite really, really hard. And this serves zebra really well. And that same nervous system is working within you and working within me. And you know what? For me, that seems problematic. And let me tell you why. I don't remember the last time it was necessary to start chewing on somebody. I can't remember ever running from a predator. So for zebra, it's all set. For us, we have the same equipment that a zebra has, but we live in a completely different situation than the zebra's in. So it's like we've got the wrong equipment. That means that when there's a perceived threat, something seems wrong, unfair, the kind of threat that makes you angry, or something just seems scary, or there's worry, the kind of threat that makes you afraid. Primitive mind reads that information, doesn't understand that stuff, and reacts with the same way that it would react to an attacking lion, and it causes your legs to get strong and uses every bodily system to do that. But in situations like for humans, that's actually completely useless. So here's what's happening with a panic attack. For example, something seems like a threat, maybe a concern about a flare-up or any type of situation in your mind that you've been avoiding. But mind says, threat, oh, we better make your legs get really, really strong. But it wasn't that kind of threat. But primitive mind doesn't understand anything else to make your legs strong. It starts beating faster and the heart is beating faster. It wants to bring in more oxygen. So there's more energy, so you're breathing faster. And there are all kinds of sensations that come with that. So the individual, remember, let's not think of you, let's think of this girl. She starts to feel that threat, and she starts to feel that stuff is starting to go on in her body. She doesn't like that. Well, I guess my heart's beating faster and my legs are strong because my mind is thinking maybe there's a wolf when there's not. She's not thinking that, right? She's thinking, what the heck is going on? This thought itself is another threat. This thought that something is going wrong is just another threat. And then her mind says, oh, another threat. Don't worry. We will get your legs so strong. We just have to make your heart beat faster. And then she goes now, what in her mind says, another threat, a bigger lion. There's 3 of them. Don't worry. We will get your heart beating really, really fast so we can get your legs really strong. So what's happened is she's misunderstood the defense against the threat as if the defense was the threat. I'm just going to say that one more time because this is really important. So what's happened is she has misunderstood the defense against the threat as if the defense was the threat that you're following. I want you to not be thinking about you. I want you to learn this like you're sitting in a classroom. So let's continue. Breathing goes faster in order to bring more oxygen so that they can go from the bloodstream to the muscles. There's also some additional glucose dropped in the bloodstream that goes also to the muscles and the legs. But when she's breathing faster, guess what's happening? She's breathing in more oxygen, and that's not too much of a problem in and of itself. But the problem is she keeps exhaling every time she inhales, and when she's exhaling really fast, she's shifting the pH level in her bloodstream. And ironically, with all that extra oxygen, do you know what she feels like? It feels like she's not getting enough oxygen. So what does she do then? Well, she breathes faster. Problem is she keeps inhaling every time she exhales, and when she exhales, she blows out more carbon dioxide. And this shifts the pH system, feels like she doesn't have enough oxygen. Well, the cycle sucks. Again, the defense against the threat is being confused as a threat. And here's the third thing. The third thing is this. Let's say I'm at a party and there's about 100 people at the party, and you come up to me and you say, "Hey, Philly, I just wanted to let you know that one of the people came up to me and said they're planning to really hurt you." And so I'm going to say, "What? Who? What? Tell me everything about it." I keep wanting to gather information because I'm feeling threatened, and it makes sense. It's intelligent to gather information. The military calls that gathering intelligence. So that's all going on, but the girl, or me in the story I'm talking about, is now threatened, not only by the thing that's going on outside of me, but she's threatened by her own heartbeat. She's threatened about that. She feels as though she can't get enough oxygen. She's threatened about herself and the outside thing and the inside thing, and both at once. And that causes her mind to be gathering more and more and more information until she becomes afraid that her mind is working too fast. She is afraid that there are too many thoughts in her mind, and too many thoughts. It sounds like a problem. We better do a lot of thinking about that. So I need to analyze, why am I doing so much analysis? So how can I be analyzing things so much? And those three things make up what we call anxiety, and it's happening because the mind misunderstood the defense against the threat as if the defense was the threat. Imagine this porcupine walks right into where you are and it looks at you and says, "Help." And you go, "What's the matter?" And you say, "Can't you see there's needles in me? Somebody put these needles in me." And you say, "No, friend, no. Those needles are wonderful. They protect you. No one is going to mess with you." And he says, "Thank you. Now I feel so much better." And he walks out and in swims this pufferfish. And he says, "I feel awful." You say, "What's the matter, little fish?" And he says, "I was with my little friends and all of a sudden I got fat." And then I say that I was worried it would happen again. And then all of a sudden it did. It was awful. And you say, "It's not awful, it's wonderful. When that happens, you're too big to eat." And the fish says, "Really? Oh, thanks. I feel great." Well, that's never going to happen because fish don't have those concerns that people do. And it's the same thing. It's mistaking the defense against the threat for the threat. No other life form can have this problem. And I'm going to say that statement one more time. No other life form can mistake the defense against the threat as the threat. So I'm going to ask you to create a sign that you make up in your mind that represents the way that your mind has been mistaking the defense to the threat, which has caused the anxiety within you. So let's make up this design. Again, not for the feeling of anxiety, but the problem of processing information deep in the unconscious mind that caused the mistaken belief that the defense was the threat. Let's make this an abstract design, and it can look like anything. Here's some prompting questions you don't have that you could use. If something pops up, you might ask yourself, would the design be black or white or grey? Or perhaps would it have colour? And what colour would it be? Is it a shape? Does it have shadows or lines? Is it moving or still or smoky? Is it going to give you a little bit of time here to come up with an abstract shape? I'll give you a bit more time to come up with an abstract shape that represents this anxiety, this primitive part of the mind that keeps popping up when it is not needed. And you're going to hear a ding. And when the ding is over, I will move on with the next instructions. Okay, now you can see your shape. What's happening for me is that I am totally with you, and you know that, and I can think all the stuff that's been going on in history. I want you to go ahead and lift up your left hand and go ahead and snap your fingers, and boom, everything that was history is now gone as quickly as you snapped your fingers. And we're here in this moment. And that's where I see you and the way I'm intending for you to be here. Your mind is clear, it's rebooted, it's refreshed, and you're alert. And the way I'm intending for you to be is alert and refreshed, and there is no threat. And you're calm and alert and focused, and the rest of the time you're focused and clear. That's what I'm looking towards for you. So why don't you take a moment? Can you create that intention? The intention to be focused and clear when you don't need to be alert. Just take a couple of breaths here and sit with your intention. And as you're breathing in that intention, you can say something like, I am focused and clear when I don't need to be alert. Whether that's out loud or in your head, and go ahead and do that now. And when you create that intention, it combines with my intention for you. Then your energy combined with my energy, and it gets bigger and bigger. And as the energy continues to grow, our energy is feeling this shift that's going to cause this thing to just evaporate. And you will be on the other side of it. And now that we have this energy of focused and clear, and we're full of ease in this moment, where I see you now, if we had to represent this energy with some kind of color, what would it be? The wonderful light that's feeling the change that's going on with you, what color is that? And that color, that feeling, that energy is vanquishing all this anxiety. And what is that color? And if you could pair this color with a special fragrance or scent, what would it be? And what sound would it be? And lastly, what wild bird or wild animal would it be? So you want there to be a color, a fragrance, a sound, and an animal. And now that you have all the elements you need to welcome this energy and represent this energy from here on out in your life, I want you to take this moment with your eyes closed, and you're going to envision a bow and arrow, and you're going to breathe in the color and the fragrance of your energy that you choose. As you're breathing it in, you want to imagine the color of your energy starting at your head and moving all the way down through your body as it's swirling through every single part of your body and every single cell and every organ, all the way down to your feet, fully encompassing every part of you. And as that happens, I want you to really smell the fragrance that you've chosen with this deep breath in. And as you start to exhale, I want you to think of an arrow coming from inside of you and being pushed out into the either way, out into the universe. And as the arrow flies, you're going to hear the sound that you've chosen and watch your wild bird or your wild animal as it's on top of the arrow flying out of the universe and into the ether. So with your breath, as you're inhaling the energy of your color and your scent, and with your exhale, you're exhaling the sound and the arrow and the animal. And with that, our intentions have combined to release the confusion of the unconscious mind, perceiving the defense against the threat as a threat, and inviting in the energy of calm and alert into your day. And take as much time as you need here to just breathe in this new calmness. And when you're ready to open up your eyes, just come back to now. I would love to hear how you're feeling. Any thoughts, any insights, any confusions, any questions. Ah, good Steph. That was so relaxing. Love the porcupine. It was a bit random. Little porcupine in there. Feel calm and a bit groggy. Yeah, felt nice. Could feel my head getting heavy for a little bit. Awesome. I feel more relaxed, though wondering if I was going to sleep. Yeah. I will listen again tomorrow as I zipped out at one stage. Yeah, cool. Um, Not bad if you go to sleep. It's still like your unconscious state is still hearing, but I find when we can tap into richly imagining, which means you're actively engaged when you're doing any of these types of processes, the more profound the shifts will be. I love the separation from self, from the feeling of anxiety. Really did feel like two different things. Yeah. Me just being an anxiety is something else apart from me. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's so cool. And that's kind of like that primitive part of the mind that's kind of like, yeah, you're there, but you're not me. You're not the evolved me. Yeah, the message of I love that. Yep. Don't interpret the response to the threat as the threat. And that's such a cool takeaway too, so that as you go on and live your daily life, I mean, you can listen back to this recording. Rapid resolution therapy, you actually shouldn't have to listen to the same thing over and over again. Like it literally creates a lot of change in your unconscious, but you are welcome to. Um, but anytime you start feeling that reptilian part of your brain showing up in your thoughts, or your body is having like a somatic response, I am currently experiencing or perceiving the threat as a threat, when actually my heart beating is not the threat. It is just the reaction, and I'm safe now. Yeah, cool, Dove. We'll do it again tomorrow. Awesome. I'm now a zebra. Wouldn't it be nice to be a zebra? Like zebras are literally like the type. Like I literally almost just died, and then 3 seconds later, I'm eating grass. We can all practice being more like a zebra. Ah. um, yeah, Dove, question, is there anywhere we can find more of these? So when nervous system regulation opens up to you, you literally have these every day, but in the outlets, in Reckoning, there's a meditational type
Here and there.
thing, yeah, here and there. In group coaching, in the group recordings or workshops, we usually add in some extra stuff. That is my intention is to go back through all the old ones so I can like literally just pull out these extra meditational or processes that we can add into the recharge section. So they are there. They're just kind of like everywhere. All right, awesome. Ah, that's good, Carrie. Relaxed. I always go to sleep for a bit, but feeling relaxed and light. Awesome. Hopefully everyone has a good sleep tonight. So that is the end of what I wanted to take you through tonight. If you had any questions, Fiona H as well, I kind of put this one in because you had the question around I'm getting a lot better with reprogramming my beliefs and seeing like where my stress response is coming from. But in the moment when I have a stressful situation, what are some extra things that I can do? I don't know if anything that was shared today is helpful or if you had a few extra questions around that or if anyone has some questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. And this recording will actually go up on Friday, so it won't be there tomorrow. It will be there on Friday. Thank you.